Just a second. It's just
No.
getting up. Here we go. Now you can go ahead, Marwa.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing good. And so today's meeting, unfortunately, a couple of fellows apologize that they won't be able to attend. So we had just a brief discussion, and most people agreed that we can maybe postpone the critical appraisal for next week, so they don't miss a lot. And so today's meeting, we're gonna have some few agendas. The first thing is gonna be just a pre-presentation about tips for residency application, and just few tips here and there. And then we're gonna discuss the um, what's a status update about the AGS presentations. By far, by now, I think most of the groups divided the work, and we're gonna see how everything going from there. And we're gonna discuss afterwards what would be the agenda for the coming meeting, and probably one of the points that were raised by Mulham, that we can actually present our presentations for AGS in the coming meeting. So it's going to be one of the big things. So I'm going to start by sharing my slide here. Just a second. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like a formal big presentation, but it's just like I'm gonna maybe add few tips and few points from my experience with application, and hopefully it can be helpful for those who didn't apply, or for those who are applying in the coming year, and wish everyone all the best. So let's start. I think one of the most important thing that I cannot overemphasize on is starting the preparation as early as you can, because like time passes by very quickly, and in few months it's gonna be the application time. So, and one of my suggestions is something that I didn't follow, but as Mulham suggested, was maybe start sending emails to programs. So this way you can form connections early on, and reach out to anyone who you know and you have connected with or worked with beforehand. This is going to be very helpful. And also getting an ERAS account and start putting everything together early on. I think the ERAS account, you can get it by June. So this is one of the very important things to start with early. Um, One of the things that also is very important is the personal statement, and it takes a lot of time for some people. Like for me, I had a personal statement that I had written the year before, and then I tried initially to adjust and make changes. It didn't work. I believe having a fresh new personal statement is always better. If you have one already, have written one before. And from my experience, I believe the best thing I can say is to make it personal, really, because um, the first year, my personal statement was just like something like almost like formal, just nothing personal, nothing about myself. So I don't think it got met like any attention, or many, like it wasn't attractive. Um, Through my research, through what I have found, I have heard many people suggesting that to make it as personal as you can. So the next year I adjusted it, and I added some few things that are really personal to me. For example, like the fact that I like to play Sudoku. And actually, in 2 or more interviews, they asked me about that. And like one of the interviewers said, "Okay, my kid is 6 years old now. He's enjoying it, and I'm just like, for me, it's a relief. I can have him for a few minutes, just busy doing something." So it can create something, whatever it is for you that you feel a story that moved you to study medicine, whether it's like something that's personal and is it it's some in some sort of way related to medicine. It's not like a random thing. I tried, for example, to put it as like I like puzzles and Sudoku, whatever, and then relate that to internal medicine. So whatever you can to just like to make it relevant, whatever you're saying about yourself, something personal, and make it relevant about the specialty specifically that you're applying for. And also, just to prepare the list of programs as early as possible. Honestly, I didn't do this. I rushed last minute to do the list, and I believe this is something that, well, if I had to redo anything, I would do this early on because, for example, each program, they have certain requirements. If you don't fulfill that requirements, then it's better not to apply because you're gonna be paying money. So it's better to be wise about what programs you are applying for, what your resume fits actually. If your resume fits more towards, for example, university program, as in as Mulham said, for example, for him it was more attractive towards such programs. So it's better to look into these programs more, maybe adding some other programs as well, definitely. But you try to look what kind of programs that are going to be interested in your application. And everyone has their own specifications regarding location, if they have family, and some other factors that can actually make you decide which states, which programs to apply to. And also, I believe if anyone who's applying next year haven't had step 3 exam cleared, have it cleared. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I lost the video, just a second. My camera keeps okay. All right. So sorry, I was here. So regarding step 3 exam, it's better to be cleared. And actually, some programs put this as a one of the criteria to rank applicants. It's not mandatory. It's not a must. But if you can and if you have the time, then it's better to do it. So I believe we went over the personal statement. Well, regarding the letters of recommendation, it's preferably to be from attending physicians in the US since it's going to be more relevant for them and I think it's more appreciated. But I believe the most, like more importantly, it's that the quality of the letter, that someone is not someone who's going to just write like the same type of letter to everyone or just 1 or 2 lines are not gonna do the job. So it's better to be from someone who knows you very well and will is willing to write some and write the letter in that way. In my case, I had 2 letters from doctors in Sudan and 1 letter from my work in Ireland and only 1 letter from the US. And thank you, Dr. Nadu, for that. So it's the more that you have, for example, letters from the US is better, but that doesn't mean that if you have letters of recommendation from doctors outside the US, that you cannot use it. You can definitely use that and can be very helpful as well. And I believe more importantly, the letter should be recent, 12 months, and some people suggest no more than 6 months. Okay, so also if you have the ERAS application from early on from June, try to write your resume right away, so you will have the time to refine it even more and have someone to read it and double check with you as well. And I believe this by far, this is one of the things that most of us have guaranteed in is research and publication. When I applied last year, I didn't have any research experience. I didn't get as many interviews. This year, although I didn't have publications, but I mentioned this research experience, I got more interviews. So it's very crucial to mention it and to be able to describe it in the best way possible. And the more, if we can do maybe, for example, more research projects, or even after the research fellowship, if you will have the ability to do that, it will boost your resume, definitely. And I think that's like, this is just the few points that I wanted to mention. And I believe this part is concerning the, okay, so the part that I mentioned, this is regarding the application itself. But once you applied, um, once you applied and you have interviews, forget about all of your qualification and focus on the interview itself, practicing as much as you can. And one of the tips that really helped me actually is putting the programs that you like at like the last, doing the interviewing last rather than earlier. So this way you have already practiced doing interviews with other programs or other options that you have, and by the time you reach the final interviews, you will be more confident. You will have all of your interview skills more sharpened. So I believe you will be able to do better. And thank you so much. If anyone have any questions, I will be very happy to answer. Okay.
Thank you, Mara, for your like this is really helpful and it's very summarized and informative. I have a questions like during interview, like how do you describe your research experience? And
Well, I
questions you
yes,
face, like what they exactly ask about your research or publications, or like how do you face?
yes, okay. So for me, they asked about what is this research experience like? Can you describe it? So I used to say like it's a tele research experience, meaning that like I didn't like saying the word tele, they will understand this. It's not like it's not like physical thing. I'm not physically there, but we're doing this as a tele research. And I also mentioned the fact that we have multiple things that we take care of. That we have weekly basis meetings where we discuss research related topics, and we present each one of us on a regular basis, and also that we discuss topics related to geriatric medicine. And I believe this is like just to make the things like a complete picture. It's not just like only about research, it's not only about topics. And also then we discuss the next steps in our research. And then I moved to mention so far I'm part of, for example, two research projects, and we have one of our papers were accepted by so and so. So just like a brief description of the whole thing. Um, I hope it was helpful, or I believe generally the general most of them they appreciated that, or it was a good description at least. I hope I answered your questions to me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Ali, Khalid is raising his hand. Uh, Go ahead, Khalid.
Yes, thank you, Marwa, for this presentation. Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is regarding the number of applications people usually make,
Mhm.
the average number for IMGs. Is it advisable to apply to more than 100, or should we just uh, pinpoint a fewer number of hospitals based on if the hospitals are IMG friendly or not? And the other question is regarding OSCE, US clinical experience.
Mhm.
Have you had US clinical experience or not?
Thank you. Good questions. Well, regarding the first question, there's no definite answer, but I believe maybe around 100 at least is, if you can, if it's affordable, because it's a costly thing. So 100 plus is definitely maybe a good number. Uh, this depends on actually how much you are willing to pay for the whole process, and also how many specialties or you are applying for. For example, in my case, I was applying only for internal medicine. So first year I applied for 120 programs. Second year I applied for 92 programs, because I believe first year I was not. That's why one of the things I said is better to go over the programs, the requirements very carefully, because first year I just applied somewhat randomly. The second year I looked specifically at programs that, for example, had a cut year. In my situation, I graduated more than 5 years, so each program that mentioned specifically that they have a cut year, I removed them totally off my list. So your list and how you are gonna make it depends on your specific situations. If they have, for example, a specific requirement for USMLE scores or not. So, but overall, I see many people applying for like roughly 100 programs. If possible, that would be good. But the more you are, the more research you do, the less number of programs you will have to apply to secure interviews. This is what I believe. Because, well, if you, for example, try to have some connection with the program, look into residents who you might know or from your home country or something like this, you can communicate with them. And for the most part, I have communicated or contacted people that I never, I didn't know at all. I just got their numbers from, for example, a common group for Sudanese residents and applicants. So I contacted them, and many of them, at least they were very receptive and nice enough to say, okay, we're willing to help. And although, like, for the most part, I got interviews from connections through close friends, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't help. Regarding your second question, um, you asked about US clinical experience. I didn't have any US clinical experience when I applied, and until now, I don't have US clinical experience. But I believe the fact that I had clinical experience in Ireland helped in some sort of way, because I kept getting questions during the interviews regarding that. So it's not a must, and it's variable. Some programs, for example, mention that they consider observership as US clinical experience. Some programs say they don't. So I believe if you do a good search in, for example, FRIDA website, you will have good idea about if the program is gonna be willing to give uh, any chances or any interviews for those who don't have clinical experience in the US. Did did I answer your questions? Hi,
Yes, I think you answered it perfectly. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks.
I'm gonna add something, if possible, Marwa, to Khalid's question.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yes, regarding the numbers of programs that you should apply, I think there's no hard rule for this because Personally speaking, I tried to ask so many residents, so many friends and people about what is the average number of programs. It really depends, number one, on the specialty you are applying to, your connection and your financial. Example for me, told me that to be in the safe side, I have to apply to 100 program. And if this number increase, it will be good for me because it increased my chances. But from the experience I had from the first cycle, I applied to 117 program. My inclusion criteria were if the program sponsor visa or not. Number two, um, to what extent the program is IMG friendly, and the scores. This is the three criteria that I used to choose the 100 above programs. But to be honest, when I applied the second year from Sudan, I was facing a lot of financial issues. So I thought of 100. I knew that it's not about how much or how many programs you applied to. It's like what I want to say is that you have to apply smart. I applied only to 52 programs, but I added one thing that, for example, if a program is 85% IMG friendly, in the first cycle, I will include this program immediately. What I did this year is that I opened the profile of the residents themselves. If it's IMG friendly and all the IMGs are Indian, Pakistani, or there are no African or Arabs in the programs, this is most probably wouldn't be a good choice for me. So I think you have to dig deep in the program to see what sort of IMGs they are taking each year, and this will definitely help. Thank you.
Thank you, Roa. And yeah, maybe certain programs they have certain preference or they are used with to have IMDs from a certain area. So it can happen. Yeah. So the more you look into the programs, the better. Like as I said, the less likely you will have to apply to more programs. So if you,
Yes.
yeah, be detailed about this, it's gonna help. Ali was raising his hand since, yeah, early. Go ahead, Ali.
Yes. First of all, thank you. Thank you for these tips. And it's very helpful. And I wish you the best of luck with your residence. My question maybe to you or any other fellows, if they have any virtual rotation or they have an idea about the virtual rotation, um, does the recommendation letter weigh the same as in-person clinical rotation or not? And also, um, does all recommendation letters need to be clinically related? For instance, I was teaching or I'm still teaching at the university. So is it advisable to take a recommendation letter from my supervisor at the department, or should be more clinically during the hospital or clinic or whatever? Thank you.
Um, well, I can answer maybe some of your questions and leave the room for anyone who want to add anything. Regarding the virtual rotations, I believe if you can find something that's free of charge or of like not very expensive, that would be a good addition to you, especially if you are not able to come to the US and have a US like a hands-on clinical experience. It's preferable always to have a hands-on clinical experience. That's more valuable. If not, then observership. If not, then like virtual rotations. But I don't think like, for example, paying a lot of money. For example, some people like ask for like very huge amount of money just for these. I have seen from what I have read. It's not like I'm sure of that, but from what I have read, some people had these telerotations. In some situations, it worked. Some people who, like, if your profile, for example, is good, you have, for example, good scores, and your year from graduation is not that is within 5 years, and you have good letters, like good experience, overall clinical experience, then it can be helpful, but it's not a must. But if you feel like you need to boost your application, then like for example, to cover up for anything that can be like taken against you, for example, or any red flag or anything like this, then the more thing that you add, the better. So in a nutshell, what I can say is the application is taken in totality. It's not about one thing, like for example, if you don't have US clinical experience, then you're screwed. No, there is nothing like that. I have at least two red flags. I had no US clinical experience whatsoever, and the second thing is like more than 5 years, 5 years since graduation. But I had other things, for example, to make up for these 2 points. So it's like the more you can do and to boost your application, the better. But it's not a must, especially if it's like something you're gonna pay a lot of money for it. Regarding because some people said it didn't help. They had in the rotation, they didn't get interviews. So it's not like it works 100%. Regarding letters of recommendation, um, I believe since you have like four, the option of adding four rather than three. So you can have, for example, the three of letters, for example, from if you have clinical experience, you have them from that. And the last one, for example, maybe from your teaching experience, it's going to be helpful. I had the only US letter of recommendation from the US was from Dr. Nader in my case. So I had the other three from the clinical experience that I had in Sudan and in Ireland. Does anyone wants to add anything to this to answer Ali's question?
Yeah, I think as Mulham also mentioned that as Mulham is teaching Kaplan, Mulham probably like I mean Mulham target was like those residency program like which program mostly I think university based. So
Mhm.
they prefer the students like who have a teaching experience
Mhm.
and as well as research experience. So I think Mulam also have some experience from other countries, if I'm not sure, like teaching experience, and he loves to teach. So this is his strength. So you can definitely strength your CV by saying that you are already I don't know, like probably teaching medical student or resident or like whoever whatever it is. Of course, it is a valuable experience, I guess. And if you really like want to pursue that, you should work on it, and then you should put it in your CV. This is a good things in addition to research and clinical rotation. And I also agree with Marwa. It does not necessarily 100% guaranteed that if you rotate somewhere or like that your residency or your interview is confirmed. There is nothing guaranteed or confirmation like that. And in addition to these COVID hits, there I think only hospitals. I mean, at this point, hospitals only allows the medical student only. As at least whatever I know from my experience, even our like hospital, they don't allow even researcher to observe or like because it's very crucial situation at this point. So we are even working remotely. So at this point it's very hard as a foreign graduates to observe or like rotation, clinical rotation, I believe. And those virtual rotation, I basically I do not have much idea. And I know there are some companies around there who makes a lot of money out of the poor MGs. So I don't think I have no idea, but if you want to spend a lot of money, just make sure that that experience or that LOR will be very valuable. If not, that's a lot of waste of money and waste of your time. Instead of that, you have lots of other things to do. Even you can do volunteer in the community in this situation. And I think there are lots of programs they value that instead of like, hands-on clinical experience. And you can describe, because this is a pandemic all over the world, global pandemic. So I think, and also we all are healthcare, the people who will interview, they are also healthcare workers, so they understand your situation. Even you can do a volunteer things instead of that virtual rotation. In my perspective, probably Dr. Nadir and other fellows can explain that better, but in my perspective, I think that is even more valuable than a virtual rotation. Thank you.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much, Sumi and Marwa. Thank you for your feedback.
I completely agree with Sumi last point. I think they take all the component in your application. During this COVID thing, the hands-on experience is less likely because of many factors, but the volunteering work, even in different places here in the US or in Africa or Asia or any place, it will be very valuable. So think about that to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nader.
So to go back to the first question, I think about the research when they ask you, I think one part you answer very good about how you describe the actual project you are involved and the teams and the end results and what else. But I think one point is not what you say. I think it's how you say. If when you in the interview, if you practice, you come to the interview with energy and enthusiasm and talk about what you love about the research or the project and show that in your interaction or your answer. I think that's give a better picture than the details of what you did or did not do, like the gritty, nitty details, because the interviewer might not be interested or involved in the same area. Let's say one of them is infectious disease. Any area in microbiology will be interest to them. But if you talk to them about, let's say, orthopedic or something out of their area, it might not be as interesting, but your way of presenting yourself about the research and about your involvement and your what you learn and what you plan to learn, all this matters, so that if you end up in their program or you are involved in research, they say they will see that you are continuing to improve and learn and participate and contribute to their program. So the energy level, I think that's an important part of the interview. That if you come and you just relax and talk slowly about the research and this and that, might not be as effective as when you are talking with some energy and enthusiasm and say that we did this and whatever energy that during the interview. I think that also plays a role.
Yes, I totally agree. It makes a difference, and you can sense it from the interviewer's face that they become more interactive. Like if you're smiling, if you like really like give them the feeling that you are really interested in what you're saying and you are sincere about what you're saying. Definitely, I think this is something that can be communicated even without saying words.
And I think one thing also can help when, I think Mulham mentioned that in one point, when you learn about the interviewer, they give you the names of the interviewer in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look up and see what area they are interested in or what aspects of medicine, I think that also will, if you match something to their interest, when you talk, I think you can catch their interest. And I think that's what happened to Wilhelm in one of the interviews.
I would like to learn something from Rua. I think she was not there last week. Rua, you have anything to say? She matched also. Congratulations.
Thank,
Congratulations.
thank you, Dr. Nader.
Congratulations, Roa.
Thank you, everyone. To be honest, I wasn't expecting anything because the first year learned me like to limit my expectation. And one thing I want to mention is that you remember, guys, when you said that you have to rank the programs depending on if you like the program or not, and not depending on if they like you or not, or depending on their response, right?
Yes.
What I did is that I ranked the program depending on if they like me or not. And alhamdulillah, I match at my second choice. So that's really confirmed that you have to depend on your preferability, not depending on how they responded to you during interviews or to your thank you email. And the second thing is that the numbers of programs really doesn't matter. I matched with only 2 interviews and I applied to only 53 or maybe 52 programs. And what's really important, and I think Mulham and Marwa emphasize on that a lot, is the connection. And you don't have to have friends to have a connection. I usually take the list of the Sudanese resident, save all their numbers, and send a message. Hello, my name is Kida. I graduated from Khartoum University. I'm applying to your program. This is my credential. So it will pay off one day. You have just to make the effort and do what you should do. And at the end of the day, I think the match is when it's meant to be, you will get it. Just never give up and hold on your dreams.
Definitely. Congratulations, Roa. And yeah, really important thing is just as one of the things that Mulham mentioned early in the when they ask you about your, for example, describe yourself. And I was asked actually at the program that I matched at, well, how can you describe yourself? One of the best things to say, I'm resilient. So it's better to actually like learn to be resilient. It's not, sometimes it can be a little bit tough and you can find some setbacks along the way, but whenever you see an opportunity, go ahead. And even like after the first year when I applied, in between I found like transitional year, whatever thing, like opportunity that was there, I applied for, although none of them worked other than the research fellowship. So like I'm happy that it worked that way. So whenever there's a chance, just pour your heart into it and do your best, and it definitely will work at some point. And also from the experiences that I have read of people who, for example, like graduated years back and so and so, just like many of them like just got the chance in the least expected time, and they actually matched at some point. So inshallah soon we hear more good news, and just stay positive. I think this is the best thing to do. Thank you, Roa. And I don't see any raised hands, so if there is no one have any questions, we can move on to the next section of the meeting.
As usual, thank you so much, Marwa. I didn't find the hand as usual. So,
no worries.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's really informative. I apologize. I had to pick up 2 phones. I'm on call as usual as well. So I really benefited from what you mentioned. I'm not sure if you talk about, I think you talked about the number of programs that you applied to. And I'm just curious to know if you got an interview from a program in the same time you are not meeting their criteria for interview, like based on connection. You or Ru'a?
It's hard to say because some programs do not say specifically what they are like they keep it open.
Mm-hmm.
So I got like 2 interviews for connections, and one of them is a university program that Tua had an interview at the same program, and
Yes.
they, although they seemed like really nice, and during the interview they were like really sweet. You would say like, this is the best experience. They're really nice, but they might not rank you. So it's like it went through a connection. It was a university program, but eventually, I don't know. Like I got this feeling that I leaned toward another program.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say because they were not specific in
Mm-hmm.
my situation. So uh, I think the answer is no, because none of them were specific regarding, for example, years from graduation or anything like that.
Okay, thank you so much. What about you, Ra?
I have an internet connection issue. Can you repeat the question, Lubaba? I
Yeah,
lost connection for a few
yeah.
seconds.
So my question is, did you receive a interview through a connection? Despite that, you are not meeting the criteria for the interview at that program, if you know about.
I received the interviews from the university program that Marwa had from a connection, but
Mhm.
we are not friends. I sent my CV for revision through Amara Jack, if you know him, and Saba. So he told me there is a doctor called Brenda. She will review your ERAS and then contact you.
Mhm.
And she just reviewed my ERAS, and I thanked her, and that's it. Couple of weeks after the application, she just texted me, Rua, I'm in the front of the office. I did you apply to our program? I said yes. She said, okay, I will put your name in the list. They ask us to like send people to recommend like a list of for resident, I think. So
Mhm.
she put my name, and couple of weeks then I received the invitation.
Mhm. Okay.
So this is the program, the interview I got with Connection. At
Okay.
the program I match in, I have been interviewed there for the first cycle, but I put them number 3. This time I put them number 2.
No, that's good. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
good to know because usually I do have many flags in my CV. I'm definitely old grad, so I'm trying to see if the connection sometimes work. Some in case of the in Marwa's case, I feel like it was courtesy for the insider that got you the interview. Did you feel that they gave you the interview just because the connection or?
I sense at some point from the program director that this is something that they do, but he's not very happy about it. That they actually ask residents, each one of their residents, to suggest 2 people. And
Mhm.
actually, Renda, in that case, the resident there like actually put my name and Roa's name. So I think they run through the filter of like, for example, scores, like maybe yours from that. I'm not sure of what their filters, but we're not specific on the website.
Mhm.
And through
Yes.
during the interview, he was like, okay, I know most people are here because they know someone. Like, he put it not in a very, not in like a in a bad way, but it's like I felt like he's not very happy about it. But he was like, okay, you got the interview, so like, let's see what
Uh-huh.
do you have. So
Mhm.
uh, I don't know. Sometimes at least it's a good. It's good to have experience, even though if they just go, this is their way of doing things. But uh, I think just like, you just increase your chances by trying to have more
Connection.
connections, but
More
it's not a
connection.
guarantee. Yeah.
More things in the CV.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your answer.
Dr. Nader,
Yes.
I think this is an opportunity to say thank you. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting. To be honest, this research fellowship added a lot on my CV. And in the 2 interviews, I have been interviewed with 2 faculties in the first program and 3 faculties, one of them, and the program director in the second program. Each one of them asked specifically about this fellowship. Although that I have many research experience in my CV, but I think this is the one I was able to speak proudly about. That we are submitting papers and we are getting the approvals, and we are doing a lot of presentations online, especially that it goes with the COVID pandemic, and still we will able to do things. And that we are a group of fellows, we have a mentor, we do a week, every single detail. I was able to speak about it proudly. So, and they were happy with this experience. So thank you again for your help, for your support. And I think without you, we couldn't be able to do this. Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't do much. It's just organization, and you did the whole work. So thank you, everyone. So it's a group or a teamwork. So you did a great work, and yeah, everyone achieved some part, and you will get the fruit. Thank you. I wanted to ask maybe Ru'a, Marwa, or anyone who will listen or from the fellows that match, if you can share some, if you have an Excel file or a list of programs, whatever way you listed your programs, you organize that. If you can share that so that we can make a database. Let's say Marwa has Excel file, Ru'a has the 50 programs file. We can create something common between all other fellows as well, so that for the next year from now, fellows can try to see if they can create connection, if they can study more about these programs, if they want to make the list smaller, because 100 is a good number, but also it's expensive, and it might not be as helpful. If it's a target, someone mentioned be smart. So do the hard work now, make the list that count instead of any program that has IMG in them. That might be helpful to the next rotation or next round or cycle. And then the current fellows for next program, they can see this and they can sort out whatever they are interested in: family medicine, internal medicine, pediatric, or whatever other. It's just you already did some part of the work. Give it to the next group, and maybe they can benefit from that instead of them. Because one thing I was thinking about is, I think to why is, if you have the website Farida, and I think there is another website, you can get the information from this website about the programs, each program in the country, and you can make your own list. This is what I did several years ago. But if someone already collected this information, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Thank you.
I have my list of programs. I saved like a snapshot, but I can make it into an Excel file at some point and share it in the group or in the app. No problem, definitely. And I hope it can be helpful. There are also some files I can also share. These are some of the files that shared in some of the groups, Sudanese doctors in the website. So they have like a PDF file. They state, for example, requirements for visa, like regarding each program, like, or at least most of the IMG friendly programs. So they put them into categories regarding on the requirements of visa requirements, regarding on US clinical experience requirements, cutoff years from graduation. So I, like, when I was stuck last minute trying to add more programs, I looked into this and it was helpful. So I think that would be helpful to share. Thank you, Dr. Nadir. And I believe I see Sumi and Azza raising their hands. So Sumi, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Rua. You mentioned that I think you got the interview last year and this year also with the same program. So can you explain a little bit like what make the difference and then you match and like did they ask you anything that last year you got the interview and you did not match, something like that?
Okay. In the first cycle, when I got the interview, it was the first invitation that I got at that time. And it was the first interview that I got without connection. And it went well, but there was 2 Sudanese people who graduated from the program like 7 years ago. They told me that the program director is new, and he loved the Spanish speakers and the Canadians. So I think they will not gonna rank you. So although the interview went well, I put them at the end of my list at the first cycle, and I didn't match. So the second time, I contacted people inside the program. Actually, he said, "We are sorry." This is what, and he said, "We are sorry. We already sent all the invitations that we have, and this year our program director is looking for a Spanish speakers." So I said, "Okay, that's good." After 1 month, this exact person sent me. I got an email from the program coordinator. She said we had a last minute cancellation. Can you able to attend the interview after 8 hours? It was 3 a.m. here in Sudan. I said yes, and then she started to send the details and Zoom link and this stuff. And then it went well, but I put them higher this time. So I think that's why I match. And this program is different, is that they have 3 types of interviews. I think I mentioned this in previous meeting. They're like a panel interview in which you and the other candidates, I mean, talk to each other, and there will be the chief and the program director making the scores. So they want to evaluate how you interact with others, your communication skills, how you present yourself. And because I was been there the last year, I knew that what they want to hear at the panel interview. They want you, for example, to talk about some personal stuff, research experience if you have, clinical experience. You have to talk about your home country a little bit, your US clinical experience if you have. And I remember the program director commented at the end of the panel interview. There was 3 panels, A, B, C. I was in panel C. He said that you are the nicest panel that I met throughout this interview season. And when the match result came out, there are 3 people who match from my panel, panel C. This is one kind of interview. The second interview is with the chief president. It went well. It was personal about what they think the ideal candidate should be. They asked about the research experience. He asked me about the differences between US and Sudan. I think it's like the experience you get when you have more interviews, the practice, as Dr. Nader mentioned, how it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it, how you present yourself. So I think this is the only differences. And of course, because I put them higher, not like I depend on the Sudanese girl who told me that they don't rank Sudanese people, and the program director has said so. As we all agreed on that, you have to put the programs on depending on if you like the program or not, regardless of any other opinion. I hope this answer your question, Sonia.
Thank you, Rua. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Azza, how are you? Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Marwa, and thank you, Rua, for answering the question. Actually, I was going to ask similar one, and thank you so much for asking it. First of all, thank you, Marwa, also for your presentation. And I think I want to also say that like congratulations for all the hard work that you did. And of I just want to maybe talk about what next. I applied this season, and it was my third cycle, and I did almost everything you mentioned, Marwa. But I think that it's this season was tough for a lot of people. It's not like for a lot of people I know, and I think we have to go that extra mile, I believe. I'm thinking of doing either a fellowship or a master's degree, and also Mulham advised the last meeting about contacting the programs earlier and making yourself memorable, targeting some programs that you're interested in, and maybe you can hear from them next time. Trying to do that, but I'm running into a gray area here. I don't know what can I do, like to boost my application. I had a few contacts, and I contacted people that I don't know, like through Saba, and I wasn't able to get a recommendation from them to get an interview, but it's fine. I'm trying to think what to do next. So I'm sharing this with you because I know a lot of people in my place. But so basically that's it, and I'm trying to hear your suggestions if you have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Azza. Thank you for the question. If I may suggest, one thing is maybe like maybe to focus on the application itself. For example, the like since there's time from now to the application, maybe regarding the personal statement. For example, you can, for example, there are some groups that they proofread and they can give you the professional advice regarding personal statement, or you can reach out to any of the fellows, for example, or any friends, for just to try to look at your application itself. Is there anything that can be improved? This is one point. The resume, how you say things in the resume, for example, how you put the points. So this is one part to take care of. And the letters of recommendation, like if you have good letters of recommendation or not. Do you need to, for example, get experience at a specific place, or like a US clinical experience, or if you have a current experience, do you need to work on, like, for example, are the letters of recommendation that you have are enough and good or not? So maybe tackle the basic points, and then move towards, like, as you said, it's you have good ideas regarding doing a master degree. This can help. I know one of my friends, she struggled at the first two times applying or so regarding scores. Although she did very well in medical school, then in STEP scores were not high. So she started a master program, and like where she applied, she was like a couple of months into the master program, and this helped her actually that time getting more interviews, and she matched, and she's doing the residency and doing the master degree at the same time right now. So uh, like there is always a room to improve, and just maybe look into the basic few things in the application itself, and maybe also read some of the experiences of some, like for example, we have maybe you might know some people in your similar situation, or people like through Facebook groups. Many people post their experience, so they look for suggestions. Some people like get really good advice, and some people are actually like nice enough to offer help. So you either can reach out through such groups and write if anyone is willing to help or give some advice, or even from the experiences of other people, you can learn or have maybe put a plan to what are the things that can help. I hope this was helpful. If I find any specific point that can help, I will reach out to you.
I just want to add, that's great, Noah. 2 points for us and for anyone wants to or plan to reapply for the next year. So let's say we have 1 year. One option will be, nowadays we are going through the COVID vaccination. So in your community, in your circle of social life, you will have people who are older, who might be a female in age of childbearing age. So why don't you in the WhatsApp group or make phones or make something that you can mention in your next interview, that you increase the awareness, you answer the question, you try to improve the community where you live about the vaccination, about getting that negative picture about accepting vaccination. If you can do that, that might help in your resume, stating that it's a volunteer work, but it's an impact on the health on this pandemic in your community. So this, it will take some time, but you can mention it as a goal that you can achieve within the next coming weeks, months, or before the end of the year until next rotation. The second thing, it might be a little bit higher, is you think about adding language to your CV. If you don't have additional language, most of us speak our native language beside English. But in the US, Spanish is kind of the second language, and it's increasing. Maybe Chinese and some other parts. But if you want to use an app, if you want to use tutors online, or if you want to, in your circle, in your community, if there are some Spanish speakers, that might be an area where you can start learning, even if it's few words. Let's say if you can learn 50 or 100 words in the next 6 months, that would be great. Because what happens with patients, if you speak with them in their language, they will open to you. They will take it very personal. They can open and give you a good history and elaborate. I used this back when I was in Boston. I was a medical assistant. I tried to speak to anyone who speaks a different language. I just asked them about 2 words: how to say hello or how are you, and how to say thank you. If they say thank you, you say it that way, or how are you, you say it this way. I try to learn Italian or Greek or some other. But for you guys, I think if you focus on just a few words in Spanish, just to say, how are you? Do you have headache? Some part of the body, let's say pain. Do you have pain? This will be one sentence. And then you will add the part of the body. The head is cabeza, the chest, something like that. So it shouldn't be a big of hassle for you guys. You can learn it, and you can mention it in your application that you speak basic Spanish language. And if you want to add medical terminology in that sense, you will also be looked at differently than other applicants next year. I think these are 2 things that you can work on from now on in the future. If you have time, if you have energy, if you are interested. If not, that's also well and good. Just think about how you improve yourself to sell yourself and be unique to the programs. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Asa, that's a good questions. Yeah, I understand all these situations. You are not alone. I just want to make sure there are so many people like in the same boat. But you know, just don't give up. You have to just keep trying, and you have to think. You know how we can improve ourselves. Basically, we have now from March to October or September is the session, so it's like 6 months from now to getting the interview or get the interview. So you have to improve your CV within these 6 months, basically, because after the interview session is over, like after November or December, there is nothing much you can do about it. So as Dr. Nadir mentioned, the vaccine awareness, yeah, actually through my master's, as it is a public health and global health major. So because of these things, I was of course, like I was prepared for both match or unmatch. So I say it's the vaccine awareness things came to my mind, and I talked to one of my public health mentor, and he wants me to apply a fellowship program that they do the public awareness program where my native language was speak, like I speak Bengali, like you guys speak Arabic. I also know a little bit of Arabic as well. When I was in Bangladesh high school, I learned a little bit, but not much. Like I'm not fluent like you guys. Like I know just the alphabets and basic dialogues. But my native is Bengali. So in Detroit, one area, there are a lot of population came to that place, like where the Bengali speaking people. So my mentor told me to, like how I can improve my CV is like from my public health mentor that, I wrote a proposal that what community intervention can we do in order to increase the awareness of vaccine, because basically the African American populations, they are still not ready for vaccine because in by historically in US, like they are basically also I work for the clinical trial, so they are not very acceptive of the science and also vaccine. So in underserved population, they are not accepting the vaccine as they're supposed to be. But if we see the data, basically African American population's mortality and morbidity is very high in regards to COVID. So they are the one, like who should be more like acceptable for the vaccine, but unfortunately they are not. So, and also due to COVID, not only COVID vaccine, the other vaccination rate, let's say polio and then measles and like pneumonia, those vaccines rates, if you see the data, it declined because parents are very like parents are hesitant to take their children to get the vaccine. They are very like they're very worried about the COVID. So they thought like, oh, we can skip the vaccine, but we don't want to get our children COVID. So but at the same time, if you think like that, if someone or the kids, they miss polio vaccine or measles vaccine, so 2 years from today, but if the community does not develop herd immunity, we are inviting measles or polio. So this is another pandemic is coming. So you can like what I'm saying is that's how I conceptualize my materials and my proposal, and it accepted last week that I can work with them. It's a community awareness program, and this is a public health awareness that how I have to find out what's their problem and why that specific area, that the vaccine declination, especially it is an underserved area in Detroit, and it can be done with even virtually, remotely. Like I can just sit with them, couple of people, and then ask them like, what makes you not consider the vaccine or something. So this is a very, I feel like this is very, as Dr. Nadir mentioned, you can target even your own populations or like the people who talk even, Arabic or something, and you can do it in virtually. That's the advantage of it, because at this point we cannot do any observership, or as I said, like, anything is like literally like it's very hard, and it's the hospital policy, so no one can make the difference no matter what. So it's a good idea. In regards to your, if you need any help, Aja, regards to that, you can contact me. I'm ready to help you. My fellowship will start from April 15 to I think October sometime. Anyway, and in regards to your masters, I would suggest you there are some programs accept foreign graduates, because we already have a, you know, like medical experience, public health experience. We already study community medicine, forensic medicine, epidemiology, all that. So you know, they know. I mean, most of the mentor, they knew that, you know, our strength, our credentials. So they are very acceptable there. You can even ask them to waive a GRE or TOEFL if the requirements is that, because when I contacted the program, I have a lot of publications. So because of that, I waived my GRE, but I had to take TOEFL. The TOEFL is, I would say, easy. You can, and they don't expect you to score very high. It's like a decent score is okay. But I think MPH is a good choice, because if you are interested, because, you know, that's one thing, it will never hurt your residency applications. Like, it's one thing, it is the plan B in case, you know, I don't want you to think like that, but still it is an option. If you want to pursue your career for even that, you can have, there are lots of job available for that. And also it will add to your CV. If you apply for internal medicine, it is good to go. If you apply for family medicine, it is a good fit. If you apply for pediatrics, it is a good fit, because, you know, you can work with the child mortality rate, or neonatal healthcare, or like, you know, maternal healthcare, those things. And also, if you want to apply for psychiatry, because mental health disorder also is a public health problem. So I mean, at least these four area, I can say it is suggested and it is helpful. So I mean, there is no doubt that it will negatively, you know, affect you. Of course, it is a positive impact in both ways. So I will encourage. And if you want to do, as you mentioned, fellowship, you know, it's also a good option. If you got a like, you know, clinical fellowship, like which is SCGME accredited or non-accredited, it is a good options. And if you can move, or like, you know, relocate, that's in everybody, we have all of our family, and there are so much limitations. So sometimes it is hard to you know, decide those type of options. I mean, as for me, I know it is not an option for me, because if it is a residency, I may move, I may consider. But, you know, still that fellowship or those kind of training is not like, you know, you just have to work on it. Like you don't know, this is uncertain, right? So, you know, so that's another option, but that's a good one, clinical fellowship. Or you may try some research fellowship, that also helpful, because you can publish a lot, and in the same time, you know, it will boost your CV. So that's all. And the last thing, I contacted Lubaba last week. I was a little busy, so I did not continue that. But Lubaba agreed to me that we all fellows who did not match this year, and also the fellows who is going to apply next year, we can meet every month, you know, like to just boost ourselves and what we are doing to boost our CV every year. I mean, this year, and our applications. So, you know, we can, we don't feel like alone, or like, you know, we can share our experience, we can learn from each other, because some of us applied last year and like couple years or whatever. So we can just sit all together, and then, you know, share our experience on what we are going to do, and learn from each other. And then, you know, we don't feel alone. I contacted Lubaba last week, and I will make sure next week and moving forward that what we can do regarding that. Thank you. And also Dr. Nadir and all fellows, I'm so sorry I have to leave now. I have my daughter's what is that, a drama practice. She's going to raise some money for some program. So I have to leave today. I'm so sorry, but I'll meet you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sumi. Really great points, and I'm very happy that your proposal was accepted. This is a great project, and all the best.
Yes, thank you very much, Sumi. I can definitely use some of your advices. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nada. Thank you, Marwa.
Thank you.
Well, I believe this is time for now for us to move to the next part of the meeting. So basically now we have regarding the NGS presentations. I can speak about my group. So we met and we have divided the regarding presentations, Ali and Ra are going to be presenting. And regarding the question and answer, we still not have the definite on that, but it's going to be me and Ali probably. And we just wanted to ask you, Dr. Nader, regarding this part. One point, if is it exclusively regarding the question and answer part of the presentation with Q&A session? Is it mandatory to be registered to be able to be part of that or not? If you have any idea regarding that.
I'm not quite sure. I think there will be a link. Submit it, and then you will just join through that link.
See.
So we can share that link, if I'm not mistaken, and then you can be as a presenter or some, like if you want to answer question or something like that.
That's great. Okay, so yes, the other thing that we made sure that we are eligible to present, given the fact that the case report was presented and published before, so it's cleared from their side. There is no problem. We can go ahead and present. So the four of us, me, Lubaba, Roan, and Ali, are gonna prepare the poster, the slideshow presentation, and by next Tuesday we'll have that ready. And in the coming days afterwards, Ali and Roa will work on the practice on presenting and recording the video. Thank you. I just would like to ask regarding the other group, Mulham, if anyone from his group is present. I believe they also did the same process, and they have even put a good structure regarding the deadlines for them regarding the presentation and preparing the material. So if anyone would like to comment on that from Mulham group.
Yes, regarding Mulham's abstract, we are going to finish the initial draft by today, which is by today, and it will be ready for presentation for the next week. 5-minute presentation as is required for the AGS, and all the roles and responsibilities are fairly distributed between the people. I think I will send him my draft, and other fellows will also send theirs, and he will put it together to create the first draft.
That's great. And anyone from Sumi's group also would like to share any updates?
We have the deadline, Marwa, yesterday for each one of us to Sumi and Omnia, they are the presenters. Me and Wael, we are the question and answer sessions, and each one of us has a task. Yesterday was deadline for each of us to submit or to send an email with the task he did. And I think Sumi sent in the chat that she will email the fellows and Dr. Nadir with the update about the abstract. So this is for now.
All right, perfect. And I believe the last presentation, Khalid.
Yes, regarding my presentation, regarding the false abstract, I've finished the first PowerPoint draft, which is 5 slides as recommended by AGS. I haven't recorded the video yet. I'm still waiting. I just finished it today, actually. I will wait for the feedback from participants in my group, and of course all the fellows and Dr. Nader, of course. And I can present it next week for sure. A 5-minute presentation as it is as it will be in the AGS. I have a suggestion, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Maybe since it's not clear who can participate in the Q&A session, and who can and how can we upload the video. Maybe we can send them an email to ask about if registration for the conference is needed or not. And I think they were clear about uploading the video, that they will send the link. But regarding who can present, I think we don't know yet. But we've distributed the work so that I will do the video of the slides, the 5 minutes video, and Azza and Dalia will participate in the Q&A session.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll send an email to all of you, which includes the PowerPoint. Please feel free to provide your feedback. I've used their template. They already have a ready-made template that you can edit.
Okay.
I was going to suggest to the 4 abstract leader of the teams, perhaps you can, if you are ready, maybe you can use a Zoom meeting and just record the 3 or 5 minutes presentation, the presenter or the 2 presenters, and then save that. If you want to redo it, you can do that until you improve, and the final version, maybe when you are done, you can share it with the team or with the whole fellowship fellows, so that they can look at it and put down if there is any comments or any suggestions. They can give you the feedback right away, or by the time we discuss next week, it will be already watched or reviewed, and some comments were made. So by next week, I think we should have everything all set ready, and you can incorporate any additional comments, and by end of the next weekend, everything will be all set. If that's okay with the group, you can do anything. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nader. Lubaba, you want to say something?
No, I said that's a great idea.
Okay.
I was muted, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah,
I agree. It's a good idea. If by I believe by Friday, if the videos are ready and uploaded, we can, like, other fellows can review and give their feedback. If anything that can be improved or done better, that would be really helpful. And then maybe on Saturday we can maybe comment on if anyone wants to add any specific comments, or anyone. I believe Mulham said unless he changes his mind after your suggestion, but he said he's going to present next week, him and Khalid, I believe. So we can, it's either or. We can present live during next meeting, or we can even do both. It's going to be more practice. So. All right. Does anyone have any question or would like to add anything? Okay, I believe everyone knows their parts, and hopefully this time we hear some nomination or some winners from our presenters. And I believe this takes us to the last part of the meeting regarding what's going to be the plan for the next meeting. So already so far, we're going to have either the videos ready. We can, if they're ready by Friday, we can view them. And then maybe if any additional comments, we can add them on, put them on next meeting, or not. Maybe we can, the fellows can have the chance to present live during the next meeting session. So this is the one part that we have so far. The other part is a critical appraisal, which was postponed from this meeting. We have a systematic review article and the critical appraisal format. So we can this can be part of next meeting agenda. Does anyone have any suggestions or would like to add anything? I believe Weil is going to be presenting next week, right?
Actually, I'll be
We're going to
moderating.
be moderating
Yeah,
the meeting. Sorry.
I will
Yeah.
be moderating the meeting. So you mentioned the agenda for the next meeting would be the. Could you repeat it again?
Well, we have a critical appraisal of a systematic review. And I believe this is the last kind of article that we haven't covered. I think after that we can maybe shift to other topics or things as well as suggestions according to the suggestions. And also the other part is presentations as it is due on like at some point next week. So we can either the fellows can present live during next meeting, or they have the videos ready. But if they have the videos ready by that time, we can view them beforehand. And if anyone have any comments or suggestions or any questions.
Okay.
I can send the next agenda in the minute.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So, anything more? Anyone wants to add anything?
I guess I have a question for Dr. Nader. So as actually explained our story for all of us that we didn't match, we did most of you guys suggested, but we are willing to increase and our CV and improve it even more. I'm planning to apply for fellowships that accept IMDs without residency in the States. Yes, my question is, what do you think the geriatric directors look for in fellows? So I can highlight that area if I got the chance.
So basically, they want you to be a hard worker. Internal medicine is a big thing, family medicine also. You will face complex cases. So you put that in mind. I think that's the main idea is, and then some of the things that we do in geriatric medicine will be against what we teach in medical school. We always teach you to fix problems with medication, surgery, whatever. In geriatric, sometimes the approach is to reduce the medication and de-prescribe and not to fix the problems with only like a patient comes to you with hypotension or dizziness. Think about the cause is the medication that they are on hypertension medication or Lasix or something, instead of giving them something for the dizziness like Benadryl or some or whatever. So it's not cascading. So these are the things that you just be open-minded to the things that in geriatric, the approach might be different and the complexity of all this population.
And in regarding to the practice, is it similar to what we did in Sudan, or do you find like some kind of differences?
It's the practice is the same as internal medicine, general medicine, family medicine. It's the same approach, more or less, but the situations might be different in certain instances. The complexity, you might think about the social aspect, the biological aspect, the creatiners, for instance, when you're dosing certain medication. So there are some areas where you will learn to do things differently than in general population, like family or internal medicine in general. But most of the stuff, most of we do as geriatrician is basically we see the same type of problems, but some of it might be in a complex, like you will see patient on anticoagulation, and then they have a GI bleed or congestive heart failure and renal failure. Most of the time you think about one organ, one problem, but in geriatric sometimes it's just what the decision, what you want to do to keep the balance. Yeah.
And I feel like in the US, as far as from my experience with the facilities that I had the chance to be with, is involvement of multidisciplinary team in US is more than in Sudan. So social work, case management, and of course, the big issue is the insurance and coverage and everything. So
that's true. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
One thing I feel it might be helpful. I think AMDA sends like on a weekly basis, on a regular basis, some sessions, some stuff. So I didn't look into in details about them, but generally I found sometimes they discuss, for example, some physicians they describe their approach regarding 13 situations or their challenges that they face. So if you just look generally into what are the common topics, what are the things that like the main challenges that face geriatric physicians or doctors working in the geriatric medicine field anyway. So maybe can be like an area topic in the interview or something that you can bring. I noticed this, or I'm not sure. It might be of help.
Thank you.
So I believe by now we have came to the end of
I think
our...
Khalid have a question.
Khalid. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
didn't pay attention to the... Where is that? Yeah. Go ahead, Khalid.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say to all people, to all AGS members, I just wanted to recommend that you should go through their website. It's very useful. There are many resources there. There are webinars, and you can even form connections with physicians. They have their own community and forums where you can discuss various things or add a post about anything. So I think it's a really great way to form new connections that would also help those of us who are going to apply for the match the next season. And I also wanted to thank Dr. Nader for making that possible and providing the funds for the AGS membership. So I just wanted to recommend that.
Thank you, Khalid.
Good point. Thanks, Khalid. Does anyone want to add anything? I don't see any more raised hands, but for some it might not be working. At the bottom might not be working. So does anyone wants to add anything or have any questions or any suggestion? I don't see any thing, so I believe this is a no. So thank you everyone for the valuable comments and participation in today's meeting, and inshallah see you next week, and best of luck with the presentations, and best of luck in everything, and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good